Welcome to episode 180 of Stageworthy. I'm your host, Phil Rickaby. Stageworthy is a podcast about people in Canadian theatre featuring conversations with actors, directors, playwrights, and more. I wanted to take a second to tell you about an upcoming conference that may be of interest to anybody who's teaching acting. Got Your Back Canada invites all acting teachers to attend their Acting Educators Conference on May 27th and 28th this year. Whether you work as part of an institution as a private coach or someone who is interested in pursuing acting education, this conference is your opportunity to meet other passionate and dedicated teachers and learn some new techniques and practices to bring to the classroom. The conference will explore exciting new ideas and tools around anti-oppression, harassment, and mental health. For more information, visit gybactingeducators.com or search Got Your Back Canada. I want to take another second to tell you about Today Takes. Today Takes is an app and a website that offers easy and affordable access to a wide variety of must-see cultural performances, from plays and musicals to dance, opera, comedy, immersive experiences, and beyond. I want to take a look at the Today Takes app and see what they have this week. Okay, so you may have heard about the Canadian Stage Company's production of Bigra, which is super sold out, but Today Takes has limited rush tickets this week for performances Tuesday through Friday for just $20. That is an amazing deal. Also, I see that they've just added Four Chords and a Gun and TSO's Queens of Soul. And honestly, I recommend downloading the app and just scroll through the shows that you can get tickets for. Today Takes makes ticket buying simple, and you can purchase tickets in less than 30 seconds. Get it on iOS and Android, or go to todaytakes.com. If you want to drop me a line, remember that you can find Stageworthy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at StageworthyPod, and you can find the website at stageworthypodcast.com. If you want to drop me a line, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Phil Rickaby, and my website is philrickaby.com. My guests this week are Toronto theatre reviewer Steve Fisher and the artistic director of Spur of the Moment Shakespeare Collective, Torey Urquhart. Spur of the Moment is presenting their annual fundraising night at the Shakespeers Showdown, which challenges several companies from around the GTA to read passages from the First Folio of Shakespeare's works and take a drink if they mess up. There are teams from all over, including, for the second year in a row, the Critics team, and Steve Fisher is representing that team. Victoria, this is old hat for you. This stuff. This is.
Oh wow!
I think it's 3 for you.
Three interviews.
Three interviews. Three appearances on the podcast.
Okay. Yeah.
One with you. One just the gang of people with a little bit of shit talking last year, and there was one where some of the cast from your last. Shakespeare in Hospitals came over.
Yeah.
So there we go. And Steve, this is your first time on Stageworthy, so
yeah,
we're just gonna talk about some shit. I noticed that one of the teams has already been shit talking.
Oh my god!
Drew Ransom's blog.
Brutal shit talking. I hope nobody lets them get away with that.
Well, the interviews haven't all come out yet,
no,
have
not
they?
Yet.
No.
Was that an interview, or was that they just did that on their own?
Well, I mean, I'd love to say that they just snuck out and were like, we're gonna kick everybody's ass. I may have slipped an email to them being like, hey, if you wanna do some trash talk.
Yeah.
And they trash talk the academics.
It was hard.
Yeah. You gave them permission to shit talk, and they
went wild.
They just did it. Wow.
Good for them.
Wow. Yeah.
They're a young company, but they're feisty.
Obviously feisty. I hope we're going to see some equally as brutal shit talking from some of the other teams.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to discuss strategy yet with Alana, but I'm sure we'll come up with some stuff. She She's really well known for. She occasionally does rap battles as.
Oh shit!
Star.
Are you serious?
Yeah. She as Star Trek characters, but she also knows Star Wars. She is, equal winner in her stars.
So
Wow.
there's this amazing shirt that I'm gonna be wearing to the show that night, and it's Star Trek in the Star Wars font.
Oh, she'll love that.
Just
Yeah.
piss people off.
Yeah, that'll do it.
So I'm really excited to see her now.
Steve, as somebody who is primarily somebody that is not on stage,
Not anymore.
not anymore. How do you feel about getting up and did you do this last year?
No,
No?
This will
Okay.
actually be my first time. It's never worked out right for me to be able to attend on my.
The timing has just been kind of, because April is a super busy time, and we pushed it a little bit later this year. But I mean, there's so much cool stuff you can do in May. Aside from all of the Justin Timberlake memes, like
Yes.
all of the Star Wars,
Yeah.
and we did Star Wars, I think 2-3 years ago, and it's kind of it's due for a comeback.
Yeah.
I mean, the Rise of Skywalker. I almost said The Last Jedi.
No.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
this isn't even my first time doing a Star Wars / Shakespeare boozy fundraiser.
What was the last one?
Rebecca Perry did a series of
Yes.
The Jedi Doth Return.
Yes.
And I shotgunned a full tall can in one gulp on stage as an Ewok in that
Wow.
fundraiser. So
Wow.
So
How did you do after that?
It was fine.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm in the Navy.
But how are you with the First Folio?
Very comfortable.
Very comfortable?
I
Excellent.
own my own copy. I've read
Excellent.
it all the way through.
Okay,
It's
that's
been a while, but and I'm a speed reader. So.
Okay, well, all right, awesome. So so we're talking Shakespears Showdown. This year the theme is the Revenge of the Fifth, since it is on May the 5th, and like you mentioned, the return to a Star Wars theme. What are some of the interesting things that have happened in past instances of the Shakespeare Showdown?
Oh, wow. You mean aside from having someone dance in a flower onesie, speaking in a Gilbert Gottfried impersonation?
Okay.
That's still one of my favorites. So many things. We've had actors and competitors backtalk the judges. Last year, James Wallace was in the Fool's Round, and I will never forget that because that was amazing. Last year, I won the Fool's Round, which I'm not even competing.
How did you manage to win the Fool's Round when you weren't even competing?
Well, Mr. James Wallace went up and he was given a particular piece of text, and instead of doing that piece of text, he did tomorrow, and tomorrow, because that man is a Shakespeare machine, and that wasn't quite the rules. And we were all kind of left hanging with this piece of hilarious text that needed to be performed a la Shakespeare style, like old school, like very proper Shakespeare style. And everybody was just kind of sitting silent for a moment, and I was like, "Well, screw this! I'm taking it."
Nice.
And
So you leapt into the fray.
I leapt very far
Nice.
into the fray.
Once more into the fray.
I mean, there's a really diverse group of performers who've done this before. From everything from the Shaky and Friends, so the Shakespeare with puppets, to Shakespeare Bashed, to like all kinds of different groups. Who were the groups this year?
So this year we've got Malcontent Theatre Company, who's talking all the trash. We've got Spur. We've got Shakespeare Bashed. We've got The Edge Productions. We've got a sketch troupe called Super Cool Oh Yes. We've got our reviewers. We've got a team representing the people again. And who else we got? We got Skipping Stones Theatre. They're coming back.
The academics.
The academics, the scholars. And then we've got a mystery team that will be announced
Oh, shit.
soon.
Okay. How do the academics tend to do?
This is their first year.
Oh, shit. Okay.
These folks all have MAs, I believe. And they bounce in between the books and the stage pretty hard.
Wow. Okay. So they're not just academics. They're academics that also perform.
That also perform, but also like one of them is completing their MA right now, and one of them is traveling the world right now.
Okay.
Just for all of the work that they do alone.
Okay. Wow.
It's pretty great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Steve, what are you excited about? Frightened about? Do you have any? What's your confidence level like going into this competition?
It's pretty hot.
Okay.
I'm feeling pretty cocky because I know Alana can drink too. And like I said, she's done like rap battles and about very nerdy topics before. And
This makes me so happy.
you didn't know this, did you?
This is the best discovery of my day.
I guess now you have to figure out like how can you get her to do a diss track on the competition? Like how do you? You need to try to.
There will
figure
be.
that
Like
out.
I said, we still got a couple more weeks. We're gonna talk. Lana and I will talk some strategy. We'll come up with some stuff.
Nice.
We haven't had a chance to do any planning yet, but I think we're gonna do quite well.
All right.
She teaches theater as well too.
All right.
As well as being a reviewer. So, and like I said, I was a performer for quite a long time myself. So. And I still occasionally get up on, karaoke stages. They're one of the only stages I can get up and not have to worry about, a conflict of interest between doing theater myself and reviewing it. So,
Can we talk about that for a bit?
Yeah,
I want to talk about your journey to, because you're starting in theater and then becoming a reviewer.
right, yeah.
But also avoiding those conflicts of interest. And I do want to talk about that. So first off, how did you get from being a guy who went to theater or was doing theater to reviewing?
Oh, okay. So my reviewer origin story?
Yeah, what's your reviewer origin story?
All right, no. So I attended theater school at Ryerson.
Okay.
Rye High. And I was a residence advisor in one of the residences there, right downtown. And the residence was primarily people from out of town and even international students. So they didn't know Toronto. And I'd been here for a few years. And my first couple of years in theater school, obviously, we had no free time. But my last 2 years at Ryerson, where I turned my acting diploma into a theater degree, I had a lot more free time, and I was going out and seeing comedy and theater and live music. And I started posting a list of things to see and do every week on our floor of the floor that I was responsible for. And at the end of the year, people were like, "Are you going to keep doing that? Can you email that to me?" So that started out with 24 emails, and it grew to be about 1,300 people who subscribed to a Gracing the Stage newsletter through the aughts. And then that transitioned to a website for about a year and a half. And then Torontoist and other blogs came calling, and I was like, well, I'm not going to do it for free on my own website if other people will pay me to do it. So I started out, writing about performing arts, the arts and entertainment in Toronto. And because my background was theater, I started doing reviewing, and it just sort of grew from there.
And you you wrote for Torontoist. Who else did you write for?
And whoever paid me.
That's fair.
Shall we list all the publications that no longer exist?
I mean, I guess we can ignore the ones that don't exist anymore.
I wrote for The Grid. I wrote for AV Club. I really enjoyed writing for AV Club. I was really sad when AV Club Toronto shut down.
With AV Club, is there like more sass with AV Club than like at another part?
There was a little bit more. I didn't do any theater reviewing for them. Working with a site like AV Club or Vice, for instance. I think about Graham Isidore's writing for Vice. He doesn't write theater review. It's not theater coverage. Right. But he writes about theater artists and the work that they do and how it, and the tangential stuff about their lives and, their struggles with addiction, or there's struggles with, paying the bills, that kind of thing. So you always have to find a somewhat different angle with some of those sites. And then of course there's now Toronto, Now Magazine, just gave out their Twitter handle. And I recently published a feature for Intermission, and I've written for Post City for quite a few years now, like off and on.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And now I'm writing for My Entertainment World.
I noticed that you were doing some interviews for their awards.
Oh my God, I'm doing so many of those. They're done. They're finally done because the awards are this Monday, and all of if you're a nominee and you didn't get in your request for an interview, it's now too late. Yeah, I'm not writing any this weekend. I have to write a couple of intros too for our host and for some of the winners. I do know my lips are sealed until Monday night.
I will not even ask. Actually, one of the things that I find interesting about your story is I don't know how many people who currently are theater reviewers who started out as actors.
Very, very few.
Yeah.
All of my compatriots in the Toronto Theatre Critics Association, they all came from journalism or academic backgrounds. Carly Mega did attend to the same arts high school as me. Okay. Yeah. So she has some performance background, but her degree was in journalism. So yeah, and for me it was, after graduating from theater school, and I did a couple of fringe shows, I did shows with Toronto Opera Theater, I did, little bits and pieces here and there, but it was a slow transition to realizing that I was putting a lot more time and effort into blogging about other people's work than trying to find an audition for my own work. Yeah. And I was like, maybe this is how I can better service the theater community.
Were you finding that as satisfying as acting?
There's different levels of satisfaction. Yeah. The thing I miss most about being a performer is the rehearsal process. I miss that sometimes. Yeah.
I'm sorry, there's no rehearsal process.
That's okay.
No, none.
But
like
I
drink
said,
a bunch of beer. Go for it.
That is also a form of rehearsal for the Shakespeare Showdown.
Yeah, we're doing that right now.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't hear it on the air, but we are drinking our sponsors.
You may have heard some cans being placed down. Now, what was it that first drew you to theater? Because this is one of the things that I'm always fascinated by, is things that draw people to theater.
We're going really deep.
Yeah,
here.
Let's go.
Yeah, okay. All right. I was living in Germany and attending an international school there.
Can we stop for 1 second?
Yeah, of course.
What were you doing in Germany?
Okay. So this will get into both my origin stories.
Okay,
but the theater and the Navy one. My father was a career military officer, and he was posted to Germany for 3 years working on a NATO project to design a new type of ship that all the NATO countries would be using. So we were in Germany for 3 years, and there were long periods of time where the project was moving very slowly. It was ultimately canceled by the Americans, whatever. So we got a chance to do a lot of traveling. Sure. Anyway, while we were there, I was at international school, and my grade 3 teacher was a former member of the Royal Shakespeare Company.
Okay, wow.
So we did, in grade 3, a production of Midsummer Night's Dream.
Wow.
With, modified, of course.
Oh, yes, I would hope so. Yes.
There was some original text in there, and I was cast as Bottom.
Okay.
And at the end of that, when the Royal Shakespeare, her former company, came to town, she got me an audition to be one of the princes in Richard III.
Okay.
And I didn't get it because I had a Canadian accent and they wanted Brits. But I did get tickets to go to opening night, so I saw Ian McKellen in Richard III.
Nice.
So that kind of solidified it.
Yeah.
Stage work, yeah.
I just got chills. That's awesome.
Nice.
I almost got killed by Ian McKellen, guys.
Hey, wow.
On stage.
Lucky.
Almost. If I just had a better faculty with British RP.
Yeah, exactly.
Which didn't come for another 12 years at Rye High.
It's not easy to do, especially as a child.
Yeah.
Victoria, we've talked about your theater origin story, but it was a long time ago. So I'd love to revisit that.
I might tell you a new story this time. I don't remember what I
That's
said
fine.
before.
It doesn't matter. Because I think that I know what I think today was what started me down the path to theater. It might be different tomorrow. So we all have, I think there's so many different pieces to it that the story might be different every time.
Yeah. Let's see how far back I can go. I remember being 6 years old and writing scripts for people to act out and creating skits for us to do based on just whatever I think I did talk about this last time. Whatever I found really interesting at the time. And I remember doing one about Casper because the movie was coming out. And at the end of the year, you got this achievement certificate. And on one of the stickers on there, because they had one for every cool thing that you did, and in every subject, and like some had math, some had the arts, some had athletics, like high jump or what have you. And one of the ones on there were the drama masks, and it said drama underneath, and I didn't know what drama was, so I asked my mom. I was like, "What is this?" And she's like, "Oh, like acting, like performing scenes." And I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do that for a living." Oh, 6-year-old Torey.
But
you stuck
really
with
young.
it. It's something that you continued with, because I think a lot of people will get to that point and it'll be one of the things that they decide to do this week, like fireman, actor, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then at a certain point when they start to solidify on something, a lot of people, when they get to that point in high school where somebody's like talking to you about your future, a lot of people get talked out of it.
Oh, big time. And I have definitely tried to talk myself out of it a couple times. And I know a few, and I've been in instances where I'm pretty sure that other people tried to talk me out of it. Oh, well-meaning. Nope, I just keep coming back. I can't. I know, like, in the last 2 years, I've been really coming back to it, because I think prior to the last 2 years, it was a lot of, maybe I'm a producer. Maybe this is my place in the community, and therefore this is my lot in life, and this is what I should be doing in terms of my career, because I'm really good at this, and like people seem to really enjoy this. And I was like, well, wait a minute, what do I want? Yeah. What am I coming back to here? It's like, oh no, I want to be on that stage. Yeah. And sometimes directing stuff on that stage. But producing is not the thing that I want to do. And 2 years later, I got my first equity contract.
Hey! So. But I mean, the thing is, like, there isn't no one thing that you have to be doing as a theater artist.
Oh, especially in Canada. Yeah. I think, like, as a Canadian artist, like, you have to produce at least once. Just because all of the content, that we want to see, and all of the content that is coming out of Canada is still so new and so young that, like, all of the talents there, we just gotta make sure that we get it out there, and that involves wearing a lot of hats. Oh yeah. Oh my god.
But that's something that's relatively new, because when I was in theater school back in 1998, we were talking about, like, the idea was, like, they were preparing us at George Brown College and a lot of other schools. Your career will be this. You will audition for a show, you will get this show, and then you will audition for another show, and that will be your life. And occasionally they would say, and if that doesn't work out, I guess you could do Fringe or something like that. Like you could like, that was the thing. It was like, if you can't do that, you'll be a failed actor, but maybe you can produce your own work.
In Windsor, we were told so much about Stratford and what we need to do to prepare for Stratford. And it's like, well, what if I don't want to do Stratford? Yeah. Or what are the other things than Stratford? What can we...
I think the institutions are getting better. They're getting much better about emphasizing to people who enter the programs that you should expect to be creating your own work. And if you're not creating your own work, then, things are going to go very slowly for you as a theater artist.
It's become like a very important path.
And even when I was, I was only a couple of years later than you. I was the turn of the century, shall we say. And even back then they were saying, you need to be creating your own work because that's how you're going to get seen.
Yeah.
And that's how you're going to get work with other people and find other like-minded artists.
Yeah.
So
we just spoke about the many things that you can do as an actor in the theater. I mentioned the avoiding conflict of interest. And what are the dangers of being a reviewer? And how do you avoid conflicts, like a conflict of interest?
Okay.
And what do you see as a conflict of interest?
Well, obviously, I certainly couldn't audition for or work for a company that I had reviewed or might be reviewing in the future. So I had to make a very conscious decision when I started reviewing and writing about things rather than just previewing or blogging about events coming up. Am I going to be a reviewer or am I going to be a performer? And for me, I was like, there's a very definite line there. And you have to be on one side or the other.
Yeah.
And it's challenging. And it's a real problem the biggest problem is the fact that there's no money for theater criticism in Canada, which we could go on for an hour on right there. But the other bigger problem is that the people who are best positioned to write about theater, I can toss off like 6 names of people I think would be amazing theater critics who occasionally write great Facebook notes. And I would say I would feel guilty about encouraging that person to go into theater criticism because, they might actually be making more money as a theater artist.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which seems ludicrous. Victoria's like, oh God, but it's true. There are people who are getting paid as journalists to write some theater criticism. However, there is one full-time theater critic in all of Canada right now, Kelly Nestrick, the Globe and Mail. Even the reviewers at Now Magazine, they have to split a number of different duties. Glenn Sumi's primary title is the stage editor at Now Magazine, right? So, and he contributes film and theater reviews and comedy and theater coverage and film coverage, that sort of thing, right? So, just like theater artists, theater critics have to wear a number of different hats these days. Yeah. So,
in terms of the dangers
conflict of interest,
conflict of interest.
Let's get back to that. All right. So last night I went to see a show and I knew every single cast member in that show.
How do you deal with that?
Well, I am hopefully, I am friends with a number of theater artists, and there are other critics like John Kaplan, very famously, had a lot of friends in the theater community. He would have people over to his house for dinner, and he still managed to balance that, because when he wrote his theater criticism, he tried to do so in a constructive manner.
Right.
And I think other critics try to do that too, but John was so good at it. And I think it's why he was so beloved in the theater community. And I've always tried to sort of emulate that.
Yeah.
So the show that I saw last night, I didn't love, and I'm going to have to write some critical things about it, but I will do my very best to be fair and balanced and talk about why the show didn't work for me. But for some people, some people love the show.
Well, that's the thing is I think
what the show is now, right?
Yeah, I mean there's people look to the theater reviewer, the theater critic, to tell them whether the show is good or not.
We can't do that. We
only give
one opinion.
Yeah.
And we will always have some biases. I'm biased in that I thought everyone I saw on the show last night is a very good performer. And they were doing the best they could with what I thought was a very odd and unwieldy show. That'll come out.
Yeah. But I mean,
this will be released after.
Oh yeah. It'll probably be out. You'll have to go back and read my many backlogged My Entertainment reviews and figure out which one we were talking about.
2 weeks, I think. Yes, 2 weeks. So So they will have to go back and try to figure out,
Yeah.
what was the show? What was the show? But I mean, I think a lot of people in theater don't have, they don't feel like they have access to people who review. And it's like this mysterious person that comes to the show, and you see somebody with a pen and a pad in the audience. And hopefully you don't, though. Hopefully you don't actually see that. When I opened my solo show in Hamilton, this reviewer showed up and sat in the front row.
Oh God, never ever do that if you're reviewing a show.
I was like, what the fuck? I wanted to be like, you have to move.
If there's 6 people in an audience, I will find a seat that is behind someone else. So I had to hide my notepad behind.
Because people, you can see that.
Yeah, I know.
Even
of course.
in a lot of mid-sized houses, you can see that pad.
I remember myself. I was on the other side.
Yeah.
There are some critics in town who believe very strongly in a divide between they don't have artist friends, but I think that's very. I think you can. I think John had it right.
Yeah.
Because so many of us who write about theater, we love theater.
Yeah.
Nobody goes into theater criticism hoping to write like wickedly savage reviews. We want to help people discover great theater that we feel passionate about ourselves, and we want to write things that help that other people will identify with, and maybe help them uncover new perspectives in the theater. And it's altruistic, I think, and it has to be fueled by a passion for theater, because we're not making any money doing it.
Yeah. I've heard that Glenn Sumi makes a point of not like having.
He's written, he wrote an op-ed fairly recently about the fact that he feels quite strongly that critics should not be friends with performers. And for me, by the time I started reviewing, it was already too late, because they already had
theater school.
Yeah,
you already had
exactly.
people who were friends.
I was doing comedy. I was doing improv out of theater school. I was one of the first I was on the first non-house team to win Catch 23 Improv, which runs every Friday night at Comedy Bars. So it's
He's also the first person to like give a very like thoughtful response. Every time I've reached out to him, he's always been very polite and warm in his responses to us. To each his own, but I also feel like for those that do have that line, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like for those that do have that line, they're still pretty warm about it, and they're still human about it.
Glenn cares very much about theater, so his motivation for this idea of being of keeping theater artists at arm's length is motivated by it's motivated by the fact that he wants his work to be unassailable. He doesn't want anyone to say, well, he wrote them a great review because he's friends with them. Of course. And I would hope the same thing too. And my friends who are theater artists know that if they're in a show and I'm coming to review it, I won't say anything to them after the show besides, hey, good to see you. Congratulations. I won't say anything specific after a show. And when they read the review, they might be hurt or elated or have a reaction of some kind to what I write, but hopefully they'll realize that I'm doing my best to write about the show in a way that I think is of benefit to, first and foremost, my readers, and then secondarily to the theater community.
Do you have conversations with your actor friends about shows that you might be coming to see, just to give them, do they know that...
warn them and give them a heads up.
Well, just I'm coming, but you guys know that I don't if I don't like it, I give constructive feedback, but I won't be soft on you because you're my friend. Or do you just think they know that?
I hope they know that. I've had a few theater artist friends who maybe I'm not as close friends with before because they've read something that I've written and they weren't happy with it or disagreed with it. And if they took that personally, then, well, obviously we weren't friends.
No, absolutely.
I remember someone asked me a very long time ago now, someone who's no longer working in theater in Toronto, they've left the city. But they asked me after I came to a show, so what did you think? What did you really think in an email? I was like, okay, all right. I answered that email, and I thought I answered it honestly. And I was actually very positive about what they had done in the show, but that I didn't much like the show. And they responded back, how could you say that to me?
Oh my God.
Why did you ask me?
Why did you ask? Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely.
Can I still remember the first time that I invited you out to one of our shows.
Really?
It was 2013, Shakespeare in Hospitals, the first time that we were doing a closing showcase.
Yeah. Did I make it?
You made it.
Okay.
And you did the polite piece out. I think you were writing for Torontoist at the time. And like I remember going into that night and being like, okay, no matter what, just make this a learning experience. And I remember walking out of that night being like, I'm going to make sure that I talk to that guy at some point, and that at some point he comes to another one of my shows. And oh my God, 2013 me was like shaking in my boots. And now who I have gotten to know is like, I'm so glad that I made that ridiculous 2013 promise to myself, and at the same time, like, this was totally not what I was expecting. So.
But I think in a lot of cases, people, like actors, don't think they can talk to critics. Right?
Very much so. Right. Yeah.
So it's like, there's the reviewer, there's the critic. I can't talk to them. Or like, we must keep separate from them, or I'm too intimidated by that person to talk to them. They control my life, or whatever it is that people believe about the reviewer, right?
I have actor contacts and director contacts who piece out directly after a show, regardless of whether they liked it or not. And like, that's never the thing to really tell anything about a show with. I used to, when I saw that with certain professional contacts, I was like, they hated it. It's like, no.
The ADs, and, the really good ADs around town who go out and see a lot of theater, because, I think that separates the good ones from the ones who are only focused on their own work and their own company's work. The really good ones are out there seeing shows all the time, because they're members of community, and they have to know what's going on in the community. And I think critics feel the same way. And and that's the thing too. Glenn is, he wrote that op-ed. He feels pretty strongly about not socializing with theater artists. But I think most reviewers consider ourselves members of the community as well. Yeah. So when, things have happened, like critics have been asked not to attend shows at some theater companies, or when we're pushed outside of the community, we take that a little personally sometimes. Yeah. So, but the whole idea of, not socializing with critics and reviewers. I mean, as you said, like ADs and other theater artists, that's a fraught relationship after a show. Sure. What did you think? That kind of thing. So, I mean,
different in that regard. I usually peace out after a show, especially openings, because I'm an introvert and I can't stand those things. I'm like gone.
We've talked about that one before.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm out. And people are like, oh, didn't you like the show? Yeah, I did, but I go.
I gotta put my brain back together.
Yes, yeah. Also, if I'm talking, if there's a room full of people, I won't be able to concentrate on anything. So I just go. On the other side, I don't actually know what to say to people after a show. Hey, that was great. Yeah, exactly. It's like, thank you for that, or I don't know what to say that doesn't sound disingenuous. So I generally peace.
I think you can just tell someone congratulations, because even if you didn't like it, they've just, once a show has opened and has been performed, I mean, you've already succeeded in that regard.
Sure, so absolutely.
Just tell someone congratulations, and if you can think of something specific to say that you like, sure, say that.
That's good advice.
But generally, I think it's also good advice for theater artists not to ask their friends or anyone else.
Oh, God, no.
What did you think of the show after their opening night?
If anybody takes anything away from this conversation, I hope you take a few things away. Don't ask your friends that question. No. Especially not during the run.
No.
Like, that's a conversation.
Ask your close friends, be like, okay, if you really want to dig into it, ask your very, very, very close friends, okay, what happened? because most of the time if I'm in a show, I don't even know what happened. I have no outside eye.
Right.
I also wouldn't want to do it while I'm performing the show.
No.
Like, I mean, I have a hard enough time being a solo performer at a fringe festival. Being the only person there, like, I have to read the reviews. And so normally at a show they say don't read the reviews, but I gotta. And so it's like the bracing yourself to read the review and
to not change your performance based on that.
Exactly.
And at Fringe, you always have to consider who are the people writing the reviews.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I Weekly very famously would send their like fashion and environment and politics.
Just these
writers to
random
review.
people.
They'd just be like, they were on staff, so like, hey, you're reviewing a Fringe show.
Yeah. I remember a friend of mine, I didn't have the conversation, but a friend of mine had a conversation with one of the many reviewers that were roped in. And this guy was like, I can't wait to give bad reviews to people. And it was like, you were the worst.
Yeah.
You were the worst person. But, for Fringe, you're like, a lot of times you do have to consider that. I think that things are better now because I is not like sending their fashion person to review theater and things like that. But I think because Movie has like this commitment to review all the shows by the end of the first weekend, which takes a lot of people. But I think she's very careful about the people that they bring on.
I think so. Yeah, it is. But even then, like even the bad reviews, it is kind of a shame that there are so few mainstream publications that are reviewing and Fringe theater. The rise of blogs like Mooney on Theater and My Entertainment World. And even the non-reviewing blogs like In the Green Room and Intermission, which I think are so important to the theater ecology.
Absolutely.
Those are all great things, but it's kind of a shame that there are less mainstream publications devoting arts and culture coverage because, those are the people who paid people like me.
I want to see so many. I want to write so many grants for so many smaller publications because I just know that there are so many. Like there is an opportunity to be had there for writing a grant and getting a certain amount of funding just to launch a particular project.
Yeah.
Just for writing reviews. I mean, like we're seeing the education on critiquing come out a little bit more, and we're seeing more.
Yeah, it's getting better. Like Generator, for instance, they have their critics program.
Yeah.
They had a bunch of new critics and also their program also encourages a diversity of critics because, let's face it, criticism is heavily skewed towards people who can already sort of afford to do something for no money.
Yes. Yeah.
With me, the Navy is very often subsidized my arts writing because I'm a reservist and I've been able to pick up extra bits of work here and there. So,
right.
And if it's someone who doesn't necessarily have that opportunity or has to, make a full-time living doing something else. Yeah. The economy is kind of it's a stopping point for a lot of people who could be writing about theater.
Absolutely. And it's very much even if you wanted to start your own blog, like that's still not going to fund your anything.
No.
Like it takes a long time to get to the point where it will pay you anything.
Yeah. So Generator is doing great work. There was a reviewer who's based in Calgary called Stephen Hunt, who had an op-ed in the Globe and Mail, I think it was about a year and a half ago, where he proposed the idea of Canada Council having micro-grants for bloggers and emerging critics. And I thought that was a great idea. And it was such a drop in the bucket when it came to arts funding that would help support arts, to have people writing critically about the artwork and the art form. And I don't know if it's gotten much traction.
It's really too bad because I think that, people think of the Canada Council in terms of funding the performances or things like that, but not necessarily specifically the criticism.
And absolutely the bulk of the money should be going towards the creation of new work. But if, how good is that new work going to be if there isn't anyone who is, well versed and educated and knows how to write critically about that work, who is providing some sort of feedback.
Absolutely.
And it's all just a matter of measuring the impact, and looking at how these particular reviews and how these particular conversations lead other companies to grow and lead other artists to build on their craft. Like the data's all out there. We've been doing this for years and years and years. It's just a matter of getting one person to like write all of that down and be like, here is what we do. Here is how this can be great. Here's how we can change what Canada looks like in terms of their theater scene.
Yeah, and you're right. And we know what the impact is. Like a good review can do amazing things for a show, right?
Yeah.
Like a good review, and not outside. I mean, those of us who do Fringe know how important a review is during Fringe. Okay. But even outside of Fringe, like a good review can, or any review, if you use it right, can help you promote your show.
Yeah.
So.
And then on the flip side, sometimes the reviewers will all rave about a particular show and realize the extent of our importance in promoting a show. I think of the Company Theatre. It was a 3-hour show. John, their production of John, which all the critics gave like 5 stars and raved about.
Yeah.
But it was a more than 3-hour show, and it was the middle of winter, and their social media promotion, I don't think, had been all that active prior to the show opening, and this is a show that should have sold out, and it didn't. And
you have to have all those pieces in place to be able to capitalize on the good review, but also to lay the groundwork so that people actually have the opportunity to know the show is there.
Yeah. Media can help, absolutely.
It can't do everything.
Yes, you still need to have. You need to have a really good social media campaign, and your social media campaign for this event is doing very well.
It's actually really good. It's actually really good.
I'm working my ass off.
And images. Oh, for so long, you have to have someone who knows how to shoot good pictures, especially.
Yeah.
Video's great, but pictures, that gets you media coverage. Yeah. So someone so like Dahlia Katz, for instance. She's so good at what she does because she's a theater director herself, right? And she goes in and she shoots, dresses and previews, and the images that come out of those. I mean, one good image from a photographer who shoots a show and, can go such a long way in promoting it.
And there's a lot of emerging photographers out there too that like you bring them to your first show, you comp them a ticket, and they will go a million miles. Like huge shout out to Holly Wider for that. She came to my last Fringe show and killed it.
Girl with Photograph?
Yeah. We got some great shots out of that. And
obviously, that show had to have a good photograph.
Yeah, well, yes, with that title. Because you don't want some people to go, I don't know, the girl in the photograph wasn't so good.
Yeah, no, Holly killed that. David Chinchilla is an amazing photographer who does a lot of our work for hospitals, and a lot of those photos have ended up on our site. Corey Palmer just did the photography for our for the showdown, and
and the videography too, right?
Oh yeah, and Ben Welton. Yeah. I'm just giving out all these names.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone hire these people. They're awesome.
And it's so important. If there's one thing I would tell an emerging company, it's that don't skimp on getting good photos of your show. And even prior to, rehearsals starting, make sure you have good images of your performers, because if media comes calling and you don't have images ready to go, properly credited media images with a photographer to credit to send someone, because a lot of times, like Fringe, for instance, oh my God. Honestly, the writing of Fringe reviews is not that bad.
No.
But before the Fringe themselves started taking it on, because I've been covering Fringe for a long time, having to source images for Fringe shows was the bane of my existence during the festivals.
Sure. They send you a picture and you don't know who it's by. The picture is called Picture 1.
I remember I once posted a picture of the stage manager because I asked for photos and someone sent me their headshot, and that's what ended up being used in the review.
That was what you did for us for
Oh my God, it was you!
No, it wasn't the stage manager. It was one of our actors in 2013, because we sent you a bunch of their headshots, but we didn't have a picture of the actual show. So you just posted Claire Blackwood's headshot. And it was great. It was great.
It's a great headshot.
It was a really good headshot.
Yeah. It's David Layes, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do think
crazy.
that,
I remember that.
those are things that people don't think about in terms like I know from doing this podcast that promotion is one of the last things people think about if they're independent, especially around Fringe.
Yeah.
2 weeks before Fringe, I'm going to start getting a lot of frantic emails from people asking to come on the podcast, but I'm already booked until like the end of July. So, but it's like that's the thing that people don't think about. And I think Fringe is doing a good job of like they've already told people like you need this image, we got to have this stuff. But you know, I mean, I'm doing my show at Fringe this summer. I'm already working on all of my social media images and things like that to make sure that it's there, so that I don't have to worry about it when I'm in rehersal.
Oh God, no, or have to worry about it when you're traveling.
Yeah,
for instance.
Well, that's the thing I was doing. Is like I was like going to like St. John and Halifax last year, and I was like, I better have this stuff ready to go because doing it while I'm performing this show in another city is the wrong time to do it.
Via Wi-Fi at a Starbucks cafe or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, get that stuff done in advance.
I do want to get back to the Shakespeare's Showdown.
We can segue into that. We can talk about the great video that you guys shot for the show.
The stuff that you guys are doing is great. You've got some great posts on Instagram, the stories, and all that stuff is super good. Is that all you, or is
no. I've got a marketing team on this, and I'd be lost without them. Because I know how to run basic Instagram. I'm learning how to use more Instagram. Also, I can only wear so many hats at once. And the big thing that I've learned with Spur is that it's such a wonderful cause. It's such a wonderful piece of theater that I want to see in the world every day. It's bigger than me, and that makes me really happy. So we've got a killer marketing team on this who has taught me how to make stories.
Excellent.
I still don't know how to do that.
What's amazing is actually how effective stories are in promoting a show.
Oh, big time. Because if you just leave your phone on, all of a sudden you're cycling through so much and you're learning so much.
Yeah.
Jeez. It's amazing.
I'm just watching. There's a bunch of other things that I follow, and like I've watched these small things blow up. There's this guy that does Lego figures of Broadway shows, and it's all he promotes by just posting stories, and it's like, okay, this is a huge thing. It's so important.
And like people will I've seen so many people work on the street like that, and they put their Twitter handle out, and then all of a sudden people are building everything off of it.
It's all got to be out there.
Oh yeah.
One of the things I wanted to ask you: when was the first time that you invited reviewers and critics to participate in the Shakespeare Showdown?
Last year. Last year was the first year.
So Jordan Bim was the first.
He killed it. Yeah. And he went, and it was his birthday last year.
Oh my God! No,
what a mensch.
It was so sweet. And I think his tagline at the time was like, now you can give me my N rating. Like, but Jordan, when we talked about it too, was very much talking about John and
of course, because then it would have been still very fresh.
Still very fresh. And just about the importance of reviewers connecting with the community. This is one of the great things I love about Shakespeare's, because it doesn't matter whether you are a Stratford regular and a kid fresh out of theater school, a reviewer, a scholar, someone from the audience, an indie company, like we're all competing. We all make mistakes in different ways, and we're all laughing at ourselves and learning to laugh at ourselves and not take the text so seriously.
Yes, yeah.
How many of these have I had?
That's the first one.
That does not bode well. Fortunately, you're not competing.
But that'll happen. That's
well, you were saying last year that you wanted to compete.
Oh yeah, I love doing things that scare me, and boy does this one scare me. I'm thinking maybe for year 10 of my company, that'll be next year. Maybe I'll do it then. Maybe for year 10 of Shakespeare's, I'll do it for then.
Have you not done it before?
I have done all of the test nights. I have done all of the preparation. I have sat on both sides in terms of all of the setup that makes it happen. I have never sat in the competitor's chair.
Wow.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have mispronounced a lot of U's and V's, a lot of F's and S's, a lot of emoticons. I have definitely tried to verbalize for some reason or another. Yep. That's one of the things on my list that it's gonna happen.
Nice.
But yeah, we all make mistakes.
Of course.
And
Yeah.
I think especially with Shakespearean text, everybody tries to do it right and do well by it, and one of the best ways to do that is to be human.
Yes.
And to just
I mean, my understanding of the show is if you don't make a mistake, you won't drink,
Yeah.
which means you won't have nearly as much fun.
Also, how boring is that?
right.
For like, there's an audience of people who are actually waiting for you to mess up. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
honestly. And I'm sure that there are people that they really want. Like, I didn't get to last year, but you had members of the Stratford company. Like, them messing up would have been super exciting for me.
Oh, it was so awesome.
Yeah.
And they came in. One of the members was riding in on piggyback. That was like.
Oh, all right then.
They were in it to win it, and I think they went out in the first round.
All right then. Oh, that's too bad. But
But they had some antics up their sleeves. They really definitely threw their hat in and went for gold.
nice.
So.
That's awesome.
Somebody posted a blog post recently, decrying the whole idea. Yeah, you
Yeah.
saw that
What-
post,
yeah.
right?
Well, what's interesting is I know that
It's mixing alcohol and Shakespeare,
Yes.
essentially.
Well,
yeah.
I have
know-
so many feelings.
I'm sure that you
we
do.
should
I'm
talk
sure that
about
you do.
this.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know Dauntless has also they have their drunk Shakespeare that they do as well. So there's I think there's a long history of alcohol and Shakespeare
Yeah.
on and off the stage. So I mean, but that's like
So many thoughts on this. First of all, I rarely think that it's actually about the use of alcohol. I think that can help and hinder if you're not handling it responsibly.
sure.
Yeah.
Which is also one of the reasons why, I mean, especially we're raising funds for a hospital program.
Yeah.
So we have to be responsible about that.
Yes.
So, I mean, one of the things that we do, we pair with Fred Victor, and we're working on kind of our own checklist that we're going to be releasing into the community as per how to build safer theater fundraiser and event spaces.
Yeah.
I don't say safe. I say safer for a very specific reason, and that is whenever you are bringing alcohol into any event, you are taking a risk. That
Yes.
is the
Yeah.
bottom line.
Yeah.
But there are definitely tons of ways that you can ensure that you are making that space just a little bit safer for those who may be vulnerable to any form of predatory behavior, as well as for those who may be vulnerable to behavior with any kind of alcohol. For those who choose to abstain for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are a lot of ways that we can do better and be better to ensure that these spaces are safer and more positive, and in general, you know, spaces that these individuals can feel like they have a little bit more control over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you see also in bars all the time those posters of, can I get the angel shot with
Yeah.
ice or with a lime or what have you? And we're going to be doing a lot of stuff there. We're in talks with a couple different companies about that. It's so important.
Nice. Yeah, it is.
It's very
It is.
important.
Yeah.
It's a conversation that the comedy community has actually done a very good job of having in the last few years, talking about the mix of the blurring of the lines between socializing and professional work, because in comedy so much of it happens in bars and alcohol is
Yes.
there and that sort of thing is happening. So you need to talk about the fact that even if there is alcohol present, that's never an excuse for someone behaving in an inappropriate manner or an abusive or assaultive manner.
And when we did our media day, like we talked about all of the safety guidelines and like all of the things that ensure that people are having a good time.
Yeah.
And so let's talk a little bit about how alcohol may or may not delegitimize theater.
Oh my god.
Okay. Okay. Let's go.
So, I mean, for our show, it's about making mistakes. And for our show, it's about the community. I'm sorry, but like performing and how often do you get to celebrate mistakes?
Yes,
This is the
absolutely,
thing.
yeah.
This is the thing that working alcohol into a show can more so help than hinder.
Yeah.
Once again, if you are working responsibly. And that just happens to be the one thing that I'm just getting up on my soapbox. Here we go.
Bring it. Preach, sister.
That just happens to be the one thing that the community really connects to right now.
Sure.
And I don't believe that is the thing that the community will connect to forever in order to celebrate a mistake. It is very strong, and it has been very prominent. But hey, guess what? Our community is changing and growing, and we've got a lot of great positive and embracing people that want to go, hey, what are we doing, and how can we build this space to be more inclusive and to be more safe as we're going about this. So does it delegitimize theater? Hell no. Hell no. With the caveat of can it? Yes, but that's why you're responsible about it.
Yeah. I think of, things like Solar Stage, for instance. They do adult versions of their children's shows sometimes.
Yes,
which are you have to be in the community to hear about them, and
they're not widely advertised, but
they're not widely
certainly,
advertised because you don't want teachers and parents necessarily coming to those.
No,
maybe,
you don't want that to be.
Are we ruining it by
exposure
talking
that-
about
no.
it on the podcast? No. but that's sort of in the same vein, right? That's taking something that people would feel very strongly about, maybe children's theater, and then it has to be educational and wholesome, and screwing with it a little bit,
Absolutely.
and having fun with it, and I think that's making it. That's where you're connecting with your community by doing that. And there isn't even necessarily alcohol involved in doing that. But that's the sort of thing that purists who are like, oh no, theater must be presented in a proper manner. And yeah, exactly.
I think we're all on the same page about all of that, because I think theater having a little bit of a rough edge is there's a little bit of fun in that.
Yeah.
Things can be too polished, and celebrating mistakes is a thing that we don't often get the opportunity to do.
In theater,
Yeah.
I mean, even in film, you see the blooper reels that people do, right? And like you see that on the DVD special features. Well, I mean, oh my god, I just dated myself.
No, I know. No, it's fine. It's fine, because I would have said the VHS, but there were no special features on those. But that would have dated me. But yeah.
No, you needed to get like the bootleg video.
There was a special DVD that you got that was like created for the.
Oh, are we going to talk about the Star Wars Christmas special now?
No, let's not talk about that. I mean, we could, because
it's relevant.
Because I watched that the first year. Like, I was watching it.
Yeah.
In 1977, the first year that it happened, or it was 78, like I watched it.
Wow.
And of course I was like 7 or 8, so I thought it was amazing because it was Star Wars. And then it was the next year, I was like, oh, I can't wait for the Star Wars special, because in my memory, all the specials come back, except for that one. And then I watched it again when I was 20-something, and I was like, the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Those dances.
oh my god. It was like somebody creating a Star Wars special that didn't have a clue what Star Wars was.
And how obvious that the cast are on so many different substances. I mean, Carrie Fisher's written about the fact that she was, high as a kite when she was
It is
in
very
special.
clear on that special. Because
Oh, yeah. Her pupils are like the size of dinner plates.
If you-
She's so coked up.
the last time I watched it, I noticed that she is never not holding on to something. And sometimes that's Anthony Daniels.
Yeah.
And he's not particularly steady in that outfit.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway. By the way, just a shot of Carrie Fisher in that teaser trailer that came out today was like ripping my heart out.
heart.
Oh
Oh,
my god.
yeah. We're going to talk about that
Let's
now?
fucking do it.
Teaser trailer?
Oh my god. I mean, we're really veering off, but I mean, it's sort of like Star Wars. Like, just the sight of her was enough to be to make my heart break all over again.
Yep. Drowned in moonlight, strangled by her own bra.
Yeah, exactly.
I the second that I saw that clip and I saw that embrace, I shivered and I was trying to push back the tears.
Yeah. No, I know.
She told it like it was.
Yeah.
Like it still is.
No, absolutely.
Still idol of mine.
Yeah.
My first crush,
absolutely.
Toddler, young, very young child.
She may have
crush.
been my second because Catwoman on Batman was my first crush.
Well, okay.
Julie Newmar was my first crush, but may have been Carrie second. But since we have to wrap up, I want to make sure that we talk about the date, May the 5th.
Yes,
Yeah.
Revenge of the Fifth.
And where can we go first off, where will it be and where can we find our tickets?
It will be at 918 Bathurst, and you will be able to find our tickets at nowtickets.ca. CA. It's the
Excellent.
CA, I'm pretty sure. Homie.
I will make sure that I get the right link on the show notes. So we'll find your tickets on the show notes, and don't make sure that you get out to see a lot of awesome companies struggling to speak Shakespeare.
And you can join those companies' battle groups.
battle
Shit!
camps,
Yeah,
yeah.
of course, the battle
Battle
teams.
camps,
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so how do we join the battle teams?
I've been really doing a really poor job of getting someone out for my battle camp, and Elena and I are going to have to step it up, I think.
It's pretty great. So you can email us at Shakespeare, that's SHAKESPUR, @gmail.com, or you can private message one of the companies and say, hey, I'd really like to be on your battle camp. To be on a battle camp, what that means is basically you're going to get a discounted ticket. It's going to be only $20. And I know arts workers and students are like, what? That's $2 more. But here's the catch. You pay for your ticket. You pay $20 for your ticket, but you also get a free beer with entry.
So $2 beer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's kind of great.
That's
Kind of
good.
great.
Nice.
And if you really want to go hardcore, then you will find out exactly whether your team is going with the light side or the dark side. Which one have they chosen? I don't know. And then you can drink in solidarity.
How would we find out which sign they've chosen?
Well, if you're paying attention to our social media, we're actually announcing it with every team.
Yeah. I think our team was announced yesterday.
Yes.
And I feel a little guilty because I didn't consult Alana. But yeah, no, we chose the light side because I'm a Pilsner and lager kind of guy myself.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Also, you're wearing green, which is always...
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And the green lightsabers, the traditional lightsabers of the Jedi, they're seers, they're researchers, they're more cerebral Jedi. The consulars, right? Which Qui-Gon Jinn was one of. I'm a big Star Wars nerd, guys.
All right, that's
I don't know if
awesome.
I've really. I am a card-carrying member of the Star Wars fan club, which. No longer existed as of 1988, but I have that card.
That's the important
I have my own
thing.
force number.
You are still
I'll bring it.
Actually,
I will bring it to the event.
You may be the only
can
physically
check me for it.
card-carrying member of the Star Wars fan club. Guys, it's been a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
This has been a Homebody Productions production.